Case Discovery Sophomores. Carrie Wong is due manana, so I just want to go through this really quick. So a couple of things. Number one, the assignments themselves sort of count as two assignments. So one is the analysis and interpretation. The other one would be the inferences that you're making from it. So like you're gonna get like one grade for evidence and the other grade for reasoning. And then there's like the percentage grades, which I'll figure out. But for the most part, like because of the fact that we're dealing with participation grades as well, for the most part, like this gives me a chance to like really hone in on like how well you're making interpretations, how well you're making inferences. I'm going to keep this short, so we're going to get to it. So let's say today we'll choose Shakespeare. So you're going to go in. All right. I sent out also like a little mailer this morning, talking about a few things. So keep that in mind. All right. So classwork. And then you have the Carrie Wong. Right. And again, with the Carrie Wong, you have the assignment itself, right? And that's it. That's that there. Let's go back. Let's go back here. And then with the Carrie Wong, you also have the Google Doc. That looks like that. And then what you do is you come down, and all you gotta do is place your cursor there. Place your cursor there, right? And it starts blinking there, and obviously you can't place it down here yet. Oh, you know why? Because you have to hit the enter button, and it goes a couple spaces down, and then you can start typing. Okay. All right. And then rather than a share button, which is up here, you're going to have like a turn in button. Okay. All right. Now let's go to the actual assignment. Okay. Now we save this as an online model so that let's go back. And hit save. All right. So now, change this. All right. So it says Amazon convenience store in the city has eliminated the entire checkout process, erasing the need for cashiers. Right. So Amazon's convenience store in the city has eliminated. So has eliminated is our first verb phrase. And again, I'm going to try to do this quickly. So has eliminated is our first verb phrase. And then erasing is the next verb phrase. And it says, and then the next sentence says, airlines and banks made similar assurances about job losses when they introduced check-in kiosks and ATMs, right? So the first verb there is made. No, not online. Highlight. There we go. And then introduced. All right. So in both industries, employment and wages have declined. Okay, so have declined is the verb phrase there. It's not going to be very much longer in the future that robots are able to pick individual orders for customers, right? So is not going to be. Okay. And you know what? It's just very hard to do. So rather than it's, I'm going to take this apostrophe, get rid of it. It is, there we go. Because that's what it's apostrophe S basically means. When you see it's and there is no apostrophe, it's just ITS, right? That's possessive. That means, I bought my dog a rubber bone. That's its bone, right? And there's no apostrophe. So it's with apostrophe means it is. So I just changed the is to it's because otherwise it's not going to let me do what I need to do. All right. So it is going to be very much longer. It is not going to be very much longer in the future that robots are able to pick. All right. And we're going to highlight that. So are able to pick individual orders for customers. Okay. And then last but not least, Amazon runs an annual robotics competition aimed at achieving that very goal, right? So runs an annual robotics competition, right? Aimed at achieving that very goal, right? Now, one would think aimed is a verb. Aimed there is not a verb, right? What would be more grammatically correct, and let's put this in italics, which this is why I hate typing, which is aimed at achieving this very goal. The which being the competition, is, right, being a possessive, not possessive, being a part of speech, POS, by itself, right? And therefore aimed, right, which is aimed, right? So aimed at achieving that very goal is describing the competition, right? Okay. All right. Now, here we go. Let's go back to the top. So Amazon's convenience store in the city, right, has eliminated. So if you eliminate something, you get rid of it, right? The entire checkout process, erasing the need for cashiers. So two things are happening there. Someone has eliminated something, right? So that's the first detail. And then the second detail is someone is erasing something else, all right? So knowing those two verbs, I don't have to translate every single word, right? Because I know what the two actions are, right? So now I'm looking for subject. So I know someone has eliminated something, right? Who is eliminating something? Amazon, right? I know Amazon has eliminated something, right? And then it says erasing the need for now. In a sense, Amazon is erasing the need, right? But you notice there's a dash here, right? Dash pretty much means that the elimination of the checkout process, right? So this store's checkout process erases the need for cashiers, right? So process at this store erases the need for cashiers. And then it says, sure, so we're at 11 minutes. I'm gonna do this under 20. It says airlines and banks made similar assurances about job losses when they introduced check-in kiosks and ATMs. Okay, so it starts talking about just Amazon this happening at, right? Then it mentions airlines and banks. So sometimes when we get an article and it talks about a particular company at the beginning, and you write the entire passage about it just happening at that company, right? That's not an accurate interpretation of what you're reading, right? So this is saying that this is part of a larger process, right? That this is part of a larger process. So not only is Amazon doing this, right? You're finding this at airlines and you're finding this at banks, right? So airlines and banks made something. Let's see if I can beat both hands for this. So airlines and banks. So airlines and banks made something, right? Now, assurances, right? So when you assure something, it's like, okay, it's definitely going to happen, right? Made similar assurances, right? Similar to what? Similar to the previous sentence. So again, when you're reading a sentence, you should always be thinking about how it makes a micro inference back to the previous sentence, okay? And then, right, once you make that inference, okay, and similar is really giving you a big clue in terms of what that relationship actually is. Then you're thinking about what the larger picture is, right? And that would be sort of a micro conclusion. Okay, how does this reflect on the world? About job losses when they introduce check-in kiosks and ATMs. Okay, so what's the bigger picture going on now? So when they introduced, right? So they being a pronoun, right? Subjects are nouns and pronouns. So when they introduced, and who is they? They being the airlines and the banks, right? So the pronoun goes back to nouns that are previously mentioned. So it says in both industries, okay, we're at 14. In both industries, employment and wages have declined, right? So decline basically means that something has gone down, right? And this is also like a math term. So you should be thinking about this also when it comes to math. Like you'll see a decline in something when you guys talk about charts and things like that, right? So, and then industry can be thought of as like a type of business, right? So there's a clothing industry, there's a diamond industry, there's a fashion industry. So when you think about an industry, another word for industry is sort of like a type of business. All right. So it says employment and wages have declined, right? And wages are what people get paid. Right? So wages are what people get paid. So it's not just saying wages have declined. So some people will sit there and go, oh, okay, so it means the amount of money people make have. So it's not even the fact that wages have declined. Employment and wages have declined, right? At this point. So then it says, it is not going to be very much longer in the future. So it being like the world situation, right? In this case. So when it says it or there, sometimes like that, or this being like the world situation, is not going to be very much longer in the future. So very much longer in the future, right? That robots are able to pick individual orders for customers, right? So robots are able to pick individual orders for customers, right? And to be honest, one of the commercials I saw with 5G, this was actually the case. So it says robots are able to pick individual orders for customers. So are able to pick is a verb there, right? So you have two verb phrases in that sentence. You have something is not going to be around very much longer. And then you have something is able to pick, right? And then there's a relationship between those two actions. Right? All right. And then the last sentence. Amazon runs. So again, we have coming back to the fact that Amazon, so even though it begins with Amazon and ends with Amazon, is that the only company that is doing this, right? That's the question that you're answering. Is Amazon an airline? Is Amazon a bank? No, right? So is this passage just talking about one company, right? So if you're just talking about this being one company, yeah, that makes your interpretation wrong, right? Because you're missing some key details. Okay, so it says Amazon runs an annual robotics competition, right? Which is aimed at that very goal, right? So this is obviously at that goal, right? So that goal being the previous sentence. So again, it's giving you a clue. Okay, you're making a micro inference back to the previous sentence, right? And you're also making a micro conclusion in terms of like what that means overall, right? Okay. All right. Now, and that's Julia Wong, the Guardian. And then you have, again, you go back into here. So under here, right, you're writing your interpretation for the whole thing. And under here, you're writing your inference for the whole thing, right? You're going to get 1 grade for this, and you're going to get another grade for that. Okay. And it'll come up as but then you also I'm putting in the percentage grades, but you're not just looking at that. For the most part, when I'm going to be tracking you going forward, it's going to be basically more so looking at your skill grades, which is your inference grade, and your evidence grades. And we'll talk about how that worked out. So this is due tomorrow, which is Wednesday. You'll see a posting for Thursday for the paragraph. All right. When you do paragraph, for the most part, you should be able to go back in here, which is one of the reasons why you don't make this a PDF. Leave this up. So let's say you open up 3 windows, right? This assignment, the previous assignment, and the new assignment. When it comes to the evidence section, you already have typed up your evidence. At this point, you should just be copying and pasting. Much easier to do than sitting there and writing out the entire thing over a 45-minute period, right? And then the only thing that you have to really do that's new is make sure you put, a heading on each of the evidence portions, like you're used to doing, right? The inference here should go first, and then the interpretation follows after it. So copy and paste this first, copy and paste that next. Above that, put, according to Julia Wong. Above the other one, you're putting, right, according to Amy Sullivan, right? And then for the section that says, inference, you're typing in how the two are related to each other, right? So that later on is a situation where as you're typing, you can just, for the most part, you already have some stuff that's already ready to be like copied and pasted. Okay. Now, I am going to be doing a lot of sort of revamping. I've spent a good amount of time when I find time doing some researching things like that, so that we can gear up just in case this internet thing just keep going. And being also very aware that you guys do not have your folders with all the work that you've done so far, which you were going to be able to actually use for the final. So I had to keep that in mind as well. So a lot of my time is spent in research, and I'll unroll that on the 20th. I am going to be posting some stuff next week, like I said, but that's again for more so for the those assignments up to the 8th. Then after the 8th, on the 9th, you guys go on break. While the break is going on, I am going to be posting some stuff just to get ahead of the game here. But again, the dates for that will be like after the 20th. Okay, so you'll even see that. Okay. Other than that, have a beautiful one. Take care of your family members and your loved ones. I personally know, no one related to me has passed away, but I personally know some folks, at least 5 folks whose people have passed away because of this. So definitely take care of yourself, take care of your health, take care of your mental health. As long as I see you in here participating, you're getting credit for edits and revisions and all these other things. And let's just try to put our best foot forward. All right. So take care, stay healthy, and bye.